All right, welcome in. It's an emergency edition of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It's just me right now, Patrick Allen, because we got to scramble when these things happen, and so we're scrambling for you guys. We're going to let everybody get in. If you are just joining us and you're not aware of why we are going live right now, the Kansas City Chiefs have reportedly signed or will sign free agent wide receiver, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, JuJu Smith-Schuster, to it sounds like it's going to be a 1-year contract, about 10 million and some change, according to Field Yates. That's right. 1 year, $10.75 million deal. We're going to let people get in here. We're going to get this thing going. I'm on my own here, one signing. So I'm going to need you guys to back my play. Send in your questions. What do you want to know about this situation, how it impacts the Chiefs? I want to hear everything from you guys as we sort of dig in here on this signing. I know we've all been kind of sitting here like, what's that meme? It's like a guy with a stick and he's just like sticking something with it. And he's like, do something, do something. I feel like that's what the Kansas City Chiefs have been like the last, Chiefs fans have been like the last couple of days here as we went into free agency. So all of this kind of broke about 25 or 6 minutes ago, somewhere around there. And JuJu actually is the one who broke this, tweeted, I believe, hashtag Chiefs Kingdom, let's go. That was pretty definitive. But we did get confirmation from, like I said, the likes of Field Yates. He came in with the details of the contract. He was backed up by Adam Schefter, who retweeted that as well. Mr. Toes, welcome. Whoa, Mike in Sweden, my guy. Appreciate you. Thanks for the info. Welcome to wide receiver 2. Very interesting. Yeah, that's a good contract. Gonzo says the signing makes up for us. Mr. Toes says JuJu fits the ideal wide receiver role in the NFL, wide receiver 2 role. And he's in a perfect situation to maximize his ability. I think that's the case. Look, and I saw, Tim Hall says, great move. Now need some edge. Yeah, absolutely. The Chiefs do need edge. I think this tells us, we're going to get into JuJu in just a second, but I think this tells us a few things about the Chiefs' approach to fixing their defensive line issues. And it seems like now that they've made this move and the fact that they decided to restructure and bring back Frank Clark, that they're maybe going to attend to this in the draft. Now, that doesn't mean that we should rule out a trade for a veteran pass rusher or something along those lines. There are still a few guys out there. Zadarius Smith, of course, is still out there. If the Chiefs can make the cap numbers work, I think everybody'd be feeling a lot better if all of a sudden they had Zadarius Smith locked up to play opposite of Frank Clark. And then they also now have JuJu Smith-Schuster to bolster their wide receiver core. We're going to have to see. Tim Hall has a question. Tim Hall says, question, Patrick, what's your opinion on why we have such a hard time getting free agents? Well, I don't know that the Chiefs do. I mean, listen, a big part of this is money. I think a lot of guys want to come to Kansas City, play with a guy like Patrick Mahomes, play for a coach like Andy Reid, who's beloved across the NFL. All of these things factor into it. But at the end of the day, free agency for these guys, look, every player is different, right? But free agency for these guys is a really big opportunity. Now, remember, it's not like you and me where we can go out and we can get another job anytime we want. They get drafted, most of them, into the NFL. They don't get to choose where they want to play. There's a rookie salary cap structure or rookie contract structure in place. So they're limited in how much they can make when they come into the NFL, even if they're a first-round pick or an early first-round pick. And so to get to free agency, they work really hard. A lot of guys want this opportunity because if they can get to free agency, if they play very well, and they hit the market, they get a chance to have teams fighting over them. And you guys all understand supply and demand. It drives up the price. So the Chiefs are in a position where you're paying $500 million to Patrick Mahomes. You're paying Travis Kelce. You got to pay Tyreek Hill. You're paying Chris Jones. They were paying Tyrann Mathieu. They have a lot of guys that they have to pay. And so I think oftentimes they're just getting outbid. They want guys, and it'd be great if all these players wanted to come to Kansas City to play on a discount because they have a chance to win a Super Bowl. But how many times have we seen really good players go to really crappy teams, go to situations that probably aren't best for them? And again, there's a lot of reasons why guys do things. JuJu last year, the Chiefs were interested in him, and it was reported that they offered more money than the Pittsburgh Steelers. And JuJu, for his own reasons, went back to Pittsburgh. And I think we as Chiefs fans, we were all sitting here going, what are you doing, man? Like, Roethlisberger's toast. You're not going to be able to win a championship there this year. There's a lot of competition with the other wide receivers on the roster, and you were being offered more money in Kansas City. So, it's I don't know that the Chiefs necessarily have a hard time signing free agents because free agents don't want to come to Kansas City, but there are definitely some circumstances that are beyond Kansas City's control. So they have to do the best that they can. Seeing Gary H says, Patrick, what's your opinion of what the Raiders have done with their free agent signings? I like what the Raiders are doing. They've got to do something here. Look, would I have given up all of those draft picks to get Devontae Adams? No. He's a great receiver, absolutely fantastic. But I understand where they're coming from, and that they've got the worst quarterback in the division right now, and he doesn't have a lot of great wide receiving options. Hunter Renfrow is really excellent, and then they've got the tight end, but in Waller. But they've got to put up points. Like, they're going to have to score points in a division with Mahomes and Herbert and Russell Wilson. So, I'd rather get a quarterback if I'm the Raiders, but, respect to Derek Carr. He's a very fine quarterback. It's just going to be hard for them. And of course, Adams is, I believe, 29 years old. So don't absolutely love that, but I appreciate aggressiveness with these teams. I don't like the whole, we'll wait until tomorrow. We got to plan for down the line. You got to try to win now and do what you can to win now. You don't want to mortgage the future. But that's, I think, what the Raiders are trying to do right now is they got to compete in this AFC West. And as their roster stood, especially after losing their deep threat and Henry Ruggs, that wasn't going to happen. So let's talk a little bit more about JuJu and who JuJu is. I know there's a large contingent, pardon me, and Chiefs fans out there who are not especially thrilled or excited about the idea of JuJu. I think a lot of people would have rather had Allen Robinson or some of the other wide receivers that are out there. But look, here's the thing about JuJu Smith-Schuster that I want to remind everybody. He's 25 years old. His birthday is in November. So he's going to be 25 for most of next season. He's 6'1", 215. Got a little bit of size, nothing crazy. He's got about, an inch on me. And he has played in the past very, very well and has done some nice work out of the slot. So you probably all remember he hit the scene with Pittsburgh in 2017. He played in 14 games. He got 58 balls on 80 targets, 917 yards. That was a 15.8 yard average and 7 touchdowns. He had a long of 97. Now, for a rookie, I think we can all agree that's absolutely fantastic. 2018, 111 receptions, 166 targets. They were throwing the ball a ton in Pittsburgh back then. 1,426 yards. His average dropped a little bit, 12.8. But, those things are to be expected. Well, the teams know what you are, and they're defending you a little bit differently. Again, 7 touchdowns. Again, a 97-yard touchdown pass. And it helped convert 68 receiving first downs in 2018. And that's where things went a little sideways. Had some injury issues. 2019, only placed 12 games, only targeted 70 times for 42 receiving yards, 42 receptions, 70 targets, only 552 yards, 13 average, 3 touchdowns. Had a 76-yard reception. 2020, 16 games, 97 receptions on 128 targets. So he sees his targets go dramatically back up, but his average drops significantly to 8.6 yards per reception. He still scores 9 touchdowns, converts 48 first downs. And then last year was injured, came back late, 28 targets on the year. I mean, just throw out anything that happened last year, but it was very similar in the limited scope. He caught 15 balls, 8.6 average again. And so now he's coming back off a major injury. So this is actually a great signing for the Chiefs, because I don't think that JuJu Smith-Schuster just stopped being good at football after 2018. Maybe he could have played better. Sure. But what do we know happened to Ben Roethlisberger? He was clearly deteriorating. his deep ball was deteriorating. He was not the same quarterback. Couldn't, we've been joking on this podcast that he throws these, or he was throwing these helium balls. And that hurts a guy like JuJu Smith-Schuster. Now, there are other receivers that came in too. They were eating up targets. Claypool's very good. And some of them were more productive than JuJu. But again, and as Scooter puts it in the chat, he was playing with the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger. That's absolutely true. And look, man, like, situation matters in the NFL. And when you don't have a quarterback who is able to get you the ball, that's a problem. And that's going to hurt anybody's production. So look, some of it's on JuJu. He like I said, other receivers did produce in that system, but it's not like it's complete garbage, by the way. I mean, 831 yards from a receiver and 9 touchdowns. Like, if you're getting that from your second wide receiver, if you're Kansas City, are you guys, and let me know in the chat, are you happy with that? If JuJu comes to Kansas City next year and he catches 97 balls, so he's not getting a lot of deep yardage. He averages 8.6 yards per reception, but he gets 97 catches and he has 831 yards and 9 touchdowns as the third receiving option in the offense. Would you be happy with that? Let me know in the chat. I think he could do better than that in this offense, because he's going to be playing with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And again, that's the other thing. I often hear the criticism of JuJu is, well, as soon as they lost Antonio Brown, his numbers went out the window. I don't think that's, number one, I don't necessarily think that's fair. But number two, he's going to be gaining Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So if your argument is that JuJu can only have a 1,400-yard receiving season when he has a marquee number one wide receiver, potential future Hall of Famer opposite of him, that's what he's going to have in Kansas City. Oh, and by the way, he's going to have Travis Kelce as well. I'm seeing some responses to my question about whether or not you'd be happy with 800 yards from him next year. Luke says yes. Elijah says, I would take that. Nate S., absolutely. Chiefs guy, why we let Pringle go. I love Pringle. I believe Pringle got $6 million on a 1-year contract. So, I mean, given JuJu's age, he's younger than Pringle. Given his past production, Pringle's never done anything remotely approaching what JuJu Smith-Schuster did in 2018. So you get JuJu Smith-Schuster on a 1-year prove-it deal for like $4 million more. Yeah, I'm letting Byron Pringle walk to keep some extra cap space for a guy like JuJu. I like Pringle. I would have liked him to have stayed as a depth piece, but I'm happy for him. He did a nice job this year, and now he's going to get paid for it. Red says, why is Josh Gordon still listed on the depth chart? They like Josh Gordon. Look, physically, he's a very skillful player. He was out for a long time. Hey, look, maybe he comes back next year. Now he gets a full offseason with the offense. He gets a full offseason to get in shape. I'm not saying he's going to come out there and be a major impact player for the Chiefs, but he is very physically talented, as we know. Maybe he becomes a red zone threat for Kansas City. They use him in certain spots, but I mean, I like him as a depth piece, but I'm not worried too much about what his contribution is going to be next year. Let's see what else we got. Mahomes is just more efficient, so he should be a good fit with what Mahomes needs. Yeah, I agree, Luke. The Chiefs need somebody else. They need somebody else that's super reliable. And as much as we like Mecole Hardman, and he's put up really great numbers or good numbers in this offense as well, he's not been the steady contributor in the passing game that the Chiefs want. But now when you're thinking about the Chiefs wide receiving core, now Mecole Hardman starts to look a lot better, doesn't he? Because you have another young, quick wide receiver with him. So now you're looking at, okay, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, JuJu Smith-Schuster, and I've got Mecole Hardman. If I go out there with a 4 wide receiver set, and that makes things really interesting too, because I think the Chiefs are going to want to use Mecole Hardman a lot more on those sweeps next year, getting the ball on bubble screens and those types of things. So, and just what I was just going to get to, Joshua points out JuJu is a good blocker as well for those shallow drags to Hill and Hardman. That's absolutely right. The way that the teams are playing the Chiefs right now with these shell coverages, dropping everybody back, they need to run a lot of drag routes and slants and those types of things. Pardon me. And they need one, very precise throws from Patrick Mahomes, a separation, but then they need those guys to be able to block for them so they can take those shorter catches and turn them into big gains. Dijon 2 says having a legit wide receiver 2 opens things up for Hardman and Kelsey. Yeah, I agree. I mean, like nobody else on the Chiefs from a wideout standpoint or a receiver standpoint probably scared defenses. They were certainly aware of McCole Hardman's speed and wanted to account for that, but they weren't worried about putting somebody on him one-on-one in those situations. You know, it's a pick your poison when you're playing a team like the Kansas City Chiefs and they've got all these weapons. So you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, man, like I'm going to worry about Tyreek Hill. I'm going to take him away deep. We're going to try to get real rough and physical with Travis Kelce and take away the middle of the field. And we'll just play man with those other guys. We're not worried about them. So a good route runner, quick guy, and he can scoot. So that's what you need if you're the Chiefs. But what you really need is consistency as well. Now, look, this is a prove it deal for JuJu Smith-Schuster. Make no mistake about that. This is a guy who has 2 really nice seasons, 2 mediocre seasons, and 1 season 2021. Like I said, I'm throwing that out. I don't think that it's, because of the injury, and Roethlisberger was just absolutely terrible last year and wasn't going to be much help to anybody. So 2 good seasons, 1 very good season. I mean, 111 balls for 1,426 yards is absolutely incredible. But he has some things to prove, and he got a nice deal that's reflective of his skill set and talent and what he's done in the past. But it was going to be harder for him to get a big deal for a team to want to commit to him because he hasn't performed at that level in so long. I think it's a really great opportunity for him to get into an offense where they're going to throw the ball a ton with the best quarterback in the league and with other really great established weapons that teams have to worry about on the other side. So for JuJu, that may mean I go to Kansas City for a year, I ball out, I catch 97 balls for 1,000 yards and, I don't know, 6, 7 touchdowns. Maybe he gets 10 touchdowns. I don't know. And I'm going to be a free agent again, and I can hit the market, and I'm going to get paid, and I'm going to get a long-term contract because guess what? He'll be at the end of next season, he'll be 26 years old, having just turned 26 in November, potentially coming off one of his better seasons. He's going to get paid. Chiefs guy says Gordon is fat and slow. Yeah, I mean, he looked a little. He's a big guy. From a physique standpoint, he did look a little big last year. He hadn't played football for forever. It takes time to get back into that kind of shape, to learn the offense, all of those types of things. His hands were not good last year, right? So those kinds of reps, he's not getting them as much as he'd probably like in practice. He's missed out on training camp. So let's see with Gordon. Again, Verderam gets really mad whenever we bring up Josh Gordon just because he's like, this guy's done nothing in years, and that's true. I spend not too much time worried about Josh Gordon as well. If anything happens with him, that would be whipped cream on your sundae, the cherry on top, an absolutely pleasant surprise. But the Chiefs need younger guys and preferably some guys that they can control. So let's see what's going on in the chat. And of course, I just have to mention this. This is the Kansas City Chiefs podcast from Arrowhead Addict. My name is Patrick Allen. We are brought to you by our friends at the Kansas City Beer Company at KC Beer Co. on Twitter. You can see 3 of the bottles over my shoulder here. They're absolutely incredible. I wish I could crack one open, but I rushed in here, so I'm too far away from the refrigerator. But the largest independent brewery in Kansas City, German-style beers. But they're all absolutely fantastic. The Dunkel, I really appreciate. Love that one. Somebody was just hitting me up on Twitter the other day. And check out their Pure Pills. If you're washing down some barbecue, that's my go-to. Absolutely fantastic beer. And we thank our friends over at KC Beer Co. for sponsoring this podcast. Hit them up on Twitter at KC Beer Co. Let them know you heard about them on the Arrowhead Addict Emergency Podcast. Christian says, what happened to Cornell Powell? Cornell, ended up on the practice squad last year. He was raw. He wasn't ready. He's a guy that's going to be able to come in and compete. So, like, when people are asking, well, what happened to – why did we let Byron Pringle go? Look, you drafted Cornell Powell. Like, try to develop this guy. He's young. He's cheap. Bring him into training camp and see if he can make the team. You've got some nice developmental prospects there, right? You got Jody Fortson. You got Fountain. So there's the Chiefs have some guys there that have flashed. that could fill in the back end of that receiving core. Let's see. Patrick, why do you look like 30 years older than your Twitter profile pic? Caleb, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. I was having a good day that day. I don't know what to tell you. I've got a little scruff going on. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's the glasses. I don't know. Maybe it's just the Chiefs, seeing them lose a Super Bowl and going through last season. Maybe it's prematurely aged me, or I should just start wearing makeup. I don't know. Mike in Sweden says, wish we could get the Chiefs in Sweden. Yeah, I don't blame you, man. Appreciate you, Odella, for the super chat. Can we not guarantee more money for Patrick in light of the Deshaun contract? Patrick's he's going to be okay. I haven't seen the numbers on the Deshaun Watson contract. He is, of course, going to the Browns. If you missed that, it sounds like he's waived his no trade clause. He had said he didn't want to go to Cleveland, that Cleveland was out, and then Carolina was out, and it was between the Saints and I forget the other team that was in for him. But it doesn't matter because it sounds like he wants to go to the Cleveland Browns. So Baker Mayfield's going to be on the move. He could end up who knows where. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Seattle needs a quarterback, so we'll see what happens there. People are talking about a cornerback. So no more Dieter. Hey man, Dieter's hanging around. God bless him. Maybe he hangs around for a little while. That's a PR nightmare for Cleveland. Yeah, not good. Not good. Not wouldn't be my first choice of a person to be bringing in to the community. Bad news. Christian says 5 years, 230. I heard, but not sure on the guaranteed money. Look, Pat's going to get paid. He's going to get paid a ton. They're going to keep converting his base salary and signing bonuses and spreading it out across that long-term contract. He'll get paid at the end, and at some point the cap will go up a tremendous amount. They'll be able to restructure. Luke asked, why did we release Ward, Charvarius Ward? They didn't release him, Luke. He was a free agent. They just didn't re-sign him. He got a deal in San Francisco that was probably just a little bit too rich for the Chiefs. And so they decided to move on. That's a big hole for the Chiefs now with the cornerback. Rashad Fenton's very good cornerback. Obviously, L'Jarius Sneed is excellent. They brought back DeAndre Baker, but the Chiefs have some holes now on the defensive side of the ball. Red says Ward got overpaid by the 49ers. It's all in the eye of the beholder. How much cap space do you have? He's a really solid corner. Maybe he got a little bit more than some teams would be willing to pay for him. But again, it depends on how much you have to pay. And sometimes if you got a little bit of extra, you're willing to overpay for something. That's that whole supply and demand thing, right? You need a corner. Here's one out here that is reliable. Maybe you got to pay a premium for it because you can't afford to wait for a rookie to get into where you need them. Because look, the San Francisco 49ers, they're trying to win a Super Bowl too. They've been right there last few years when they haven't had all the injuries. So Chiefs guy says, do you think Patrick Peterson is an option? Sure, of course. But as a depth piece, he's definitely getting up there. If I could get him, 4 years ago, that would be much more preferable. I'm not sure what the Chiefs are going to do with corner. I gotta be honest with you guys. I really think they need more depth there and they need more solid veteran help. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I'm starting to think more and more, unless they can get Za'Darius, that the Chiefs are looking to the draft. It is very deep in edge rushers. So there are going to be guys on the board that the Chiefs should be able to snag at the end of the first round, or if they wanted to move up a little bit. Remember, the Chiefs have some ammunition. Poles signing with the Bears because of some of the diversity initiatives that the NFL has. The Chiefs were awarded, I believe, 2 third-round picks for his signing to be the GM of the Bears. They get one, compensatory picks at the end of the third round this year and another one next year. Those it used to be you couldn't trade those picks. Now you can. So I think the Chiefs have 9, correct me if I'm wrong out there, but I think they've got like 9 picks going into this draft. So, if they wanted to move up a little bit in the first round, say they want to move up 10 spots or something like that, they definitely have the ammo to do it if they want to get their guy. I think they've got holes to fill, but they don't have that many holes to fill. So I'm okay with them making a move like that and getting some young talent in there. Chiefs guy says, I want Justin Houston back. Played pretty well. He's played pretty well. We'll see what's going on with him. Snead is only going to improve, Red. I agree with you. Coming into the third year, I'm really excited to see how he plays this year. Is Josh Kando, Katie Hawk, is Josh Kando ready to be a starter? I have no idea. I mean, I don't think there's any way for any of us to know that. Only the Chiefs coaching staff can know that. Didn't play a whole ton last year, but look, they drafted him for a reason. And that's one thing too, as you think about the team coming together in free agency and as we head through the draft and into training camp, we have to be on the lookout for guys that they have taken or, guys that have been around for a while to ascend and start taking the next step. We've seen that with a few guys that, like the Fountain last year looked like he was going to be a part of this offense and maybe a red zone threat for them. Guys like Rashad Fenton, who came along, who maybe you weren't really excited about. Charvarius Ward is another great example of somebody that they got, that they developed. So there are some guys that, DiCaprio Bootle, right? I know other than his name being hilarious, definitely my favorite name on the Chiefs. Is anybody really excited about DiCaprio Bootle right now? Do you think DiCaprio Bootle is an option for the Chiefs to get significant playing time? No, of course you don't. He hasn't looked great in the preseason, but the Chiefs have seen something in him. If he's a guy that's hanging around and that maybe at some point he gets the seasoning he needs, and then we see him out there making impact plays for the Chiefs. That's a big part of being a successful franchise in the NFL. It's not just getting the guys high up in the draft, and obviously you want to hit with those and the cap management and stuff, but where you really get these huge, massive wins is when you find those diamonds in the rough that other teams missed, or you're able to develop your own guys. And when you can do that and you can fill out the cornerback position with a guy like a Charvarius Ward for a number of seasons, you win a Super Bowl. Cornerbacks are expensive. So Brett Veach has shown a propensity to try to develop guys, try to find value guys at the cornerback position. Obviously, the Chiefs have lost Tyrann Mathieu, although he's still out there. As far as I know, I haven't seen that he has signed today. So that was a situation where the Chiefs looked at their team and they said, okay, we think we can get this guy Justin Reid, and we think he can come in and do a comparable job. Maybe he's not Tyrann Mathieu, but he's young. And we think he can do a good enough job for us at that position. So we take money. Now, it was reported that Mathieu wanted maybe around 15, 16, maybe a little bit more, $1 million per year. So the Chiefs remove a big chunk of that and they give it to JuJu Smith-Schuster. So now you see the shifting priorities from, okay, like safety, we need to be good at safety, but maybe they really like the combo of Reed back there with Juan Thornhill, and they're saying we need to move money around from this position to this position. We need to pay edge rushers. We need to pay a wide receiver too. We're not happy with where we're at there. Bearded Buddha in the chat says, are we going to be shallow at running back? No, I don't think so. Obviously, look, you've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You've invested a lot in him. He, as we know, he had a surgery last offseason, lost a ton of weight, just got back before training camp. How much that, and then of course he dealt with injuries. So there's some injury concerns there. There's some underwhelming play concerns there, but I'm really excited to see him now with, again, a full training camp for the first time in like 2 years, healthy throughout the whole offseason. Hopefully he can come back and be the impact player that he was when he was a rookie. And I really like what I saw from Derek Gore this season. He really, really flashed. He seems like a really good replacement for Williams back there. So let's see what happens at the running back position. They'll probably bring in some other veterans. There are always guys out there. I don't see them probably drafting anybody. I think they're good with a couple of the guys that they have. So we'll see what happens there. By the way, I wanted to mention, if you like this podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. And if you want notifications for when we do these emergency podcasts, hit the bell so that you get notified when the Chiefs make a move and I come running into my office and jump on the computer. That's the quickest way to know. And if you want to get more involved in what it is we do here, myself, Matt Verderia, Matt Connor, Sterling Holmes, you can look into becoming a member. All the information is in the description. If you want to become a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast, we've got a great private Discord that we hang out on. They're going nuts in there right now. I can tell you that, talking about everything that's happening here. It's a great way for us to communicate directly with you. We're having a happy hour on Monday for members only on the Discord. It's a lot of fun. You get special badges and emojis and things like that, both in the Discord and on YouTube. So check it out. And we'd love to see you in the happy hour. We'd love some new members to talk about all this with in a more intimate setting, if you will. All right, let's get back to it. So Joshua says, a backfield of Gore, CEH, and McKinnon could work for this team. I agree. I mean, I love the way McKinnon plays football, man. So much effort. He's out there. He blocks really well, and he's just it's just an effort guy. He'd catch those swing passes, and he just really put his head down and run guys over. He's not a huge guy. I really like that kind of effort from a back. He doesn't run out of bounds. He's got something to prove. He plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he's got some skills as a receiving back that the Chiefs have. Now, allegedly, so does Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If they'd ever throw him the ball, they just never have thrown them the ball very much. So we'd like to see that get going as well. Charlie says, bring back Melvin Ingram. Yeah, I'd like to see Ingram come back as a depth piece. That might be not something that happens a little bit later in the season. Melvin Ingram's probably not a guy you're clamoring to get back right now. That's like an after the draft move, I would say, for this team, especially that now that they brought Frank Clark back. I think that they feel pretty good about some of their interior defensive linemen. But Brett Veach did say at the NFL Combine that the Chiefs would probably be making some moves along their defensive line. And the draft is a great place to do that because, again, we talk about money. The Chiefs have to be able to afford everybody. And so they can't just sign every big name free agent that hits the market. I know everyone says the salary cap is a myth, and there are some things that they can do to create space. But at the end of the day, look, it's funny too. A lot of the same people that complain about the Frank Clark contract and how it didn't work out, they also complain about the fact that Frank Clark that the Chiefs weren't making free agent moves. So obviously, look, it's up to Brett Veach and the team there to get these moves right. I think they do more often than not. Frank Clark, in my opinion, worth every penny. I don't think the Chiefs win the Super Bowl without him. The way that he played in the playoffs, and particularly the way that he played on that final drive when the 49ers had the ball and had a chance to take the lead, that's not a waste to me. We've got a Lombardi, and I think Frank Clark deserves a lot of credit for that Lombardi. And so if maybe some of the other years he didn't live up to the expectations, that sucks. But as our friend Brian Windhorst at ESPN is fond of saying, winning a championship means you never have to say you're sorry. Looks like we got a Broncos fan or two in the chat. Welcome. We're always here for a little good-natured trolling. Keep it civil. People are talking about Kareem Hunt a lot in the chat, so I want to address that. Matt Mortimer says Kareem Hunt will never play for KC again. They will not pay for running backs, people. That's probably true. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Kareem Hunt could end up back on the Chiefs someday. Mike in Sweden, God bless you, man. He says, just a quick diversion here. Think Josh Gordon will be back just right before training camp. Yeah, I believe he's on the practice squad right now. Don't hold me to that, but I believe they did re-sign him and bring him back. Well, I don't know if anybody's on the practice. These roster things are a little confusing at this time of year, but I believe he's under contract with the Chiefs. Back to Kareem Hunt. So one of the reasons that the Chiefs let Kareem Hunt go was because, and this is by their own admission, because he lied to them about what happened in that hotel hallway. Kareem Hunt was living there at the time in Cleveland, got into an altercation with a woman. There's a he said, she said. I believe Hunt's camp alleged that she called him the N-word. He got very upset. He did an apology interview on ESPN. He took responsibility. You can make an argument whether or not you thought he did enough in that interview with, as far as apologizing. But what ended up happening in that altercation is he charged at the woman in the woman's vicinity, knocked another man into her. She fell down. He then kicked her, not hard, but he still kicked a woman on the ground. All of that is awful, terrible. And so the Chiefs were aware of the situation, but I don't think that they were aware of all of the details because Kareem Hunt did not make those details available to them. And when they found out that he lied to them and the videotape came out, he was cut. He moved on. I do not know what Kareem has been up to in Cleveland. I hope that he has gotten things together and that nothing like that ever happens again. I hope he's making the best out of his second chance. I hope the woman that he kicked is okay, first and foremost. As far as him coming back to Kansas City, look, man, he's a very good running back. If the Chiefs were to bring him back, he would be a huge impact player for them, but he's not going to be cheap because he's he's been a very productive player in Cleveland, even behind Nick Chubb. They've got a first round pick in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So look, I don't see it happening. I don't even know if the Browns, now that the Browns have Deshaun Watson, are they even going to get rid of Kareem Hunt? I think they can save some money if they cut him, if they want to go that route. I think they like Dearness Johnson. They tendered him, so they're trying to keep Dearness Johnson. He looked great, but Kareem Hunt's on I believe the last year of his contract with Cleveland. So if they can make the cap numbers work, that's been like the best 1-2 punch, running back punch in the NFL the last few years. The way that the Browns like to play football with a lot of play action and a very strong running game with Kevin Stefanski's system. Now that they have Deshaun Watson, or they're going to have Deshaun Watson, you can make an argument that they're right there as a potential Super Bowl contender. So why would they want to get rid of Kareem Hunt if they can afford it when they have depth at a really quality position, and now they have a dynamic quarterback who can run the football a little bit too? I don't see him hitting the market, but what do I know? I'm not an NFL GM, and I'm not an expert on their particular cap situation. If he was back in Kansas City, I think we're all remembering very fondly the way the offense operated with Kareem Hunt. They passed the ball to the running back a lot more in the first season with Patrick Mahomes. It's super, super dynamic. Hunt led the league in rushing his rookie year. So, I mean, Hunt, the player, would I like the player Kareem Hunt to be back on the Chiefs? Absolutely. He's a very good running back. Is it likely? Probably not. But hey, you never say never in the NFL. Who would have thought that 2 years ago that Deshaun Watson would be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns? Let's go back to the chat. Let me know what your questions are about the JuJu Smith-Schuster signing or anything else Chiefs that I might attempt to answer. People are talking about Christian McCaffrey. He can't stay healthy. I don't think Christian McCaffrey is going to be a Chief anytime soon. Mike in Sweden says Hunt ain't coming back as long as Red is in as the head coach. That very well may be. I don't know that for a fact, but obviously the Chiefs were not happy with Kareem Hunt. Look, we know Andy Reid's a guy who believes in second chances. So it's not impossible. No way they let go of Chubb. People are talking about the Browns a lot. What are your Chiefs questions? Benjamin says 800 yards sounds decent for a wide receiver too. He'll probably get more with Patrick at quarterback. It's very possible. I think how productive JuJu Smith-Schuster is, obviously a lot of it depends on JuJu Smith-Schuster and how he's able to perform, but it's also a lot up to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, how are they going to play on offense, right? How consistently are they going to roll him out as the wide receiver too, and how many consistent looks is he going to get? Or are they going to play it a little bit like last year, where you had these guys rotating in and out? You had McCole Hardman, you had Demarcus Robinson, you had Byron Pringle, and they do like a wide receiver 2 by committee approach. If that's like, Andy with his playbook, and he's got that giant, looks like the Waffle House menu or whatever it is, giant menu of plays that he stands on the sideline with. They're going to be looking at that, and they like to have a lot of different packages. So when they're trying to get certain kinds of matchups, they've got different personnel packages that they'll run at the receiver position. So it really depends, I think, on how much JuJu is on the field, and then the way that teams are playing them. But the opportunities are surely going to be there for whoever is the steady wide receiver number 2 for the Chiefs, because you have to account for your absolute. It's suicide to play man coverage against Tyreek Hill. And it's not very wise to play the same against Travis Kelce. Our guy, Stacy Smith, former Arrowhead Addict contributor, says, I think Smith-Schuster will command the most wide receiver 2 targets of any receiver since the Reid regime started. I agree. And, all you need to probably, what are the clues? What are the things pointing you in this direction? And the biggest one, of course, is the contract that they just gave him. It's 1 year, $10 million contract. I'm not sure if there are incentives built in or how that's working out. I'm here and I'm not on Twitter. So if you guys have more details, if more details are getting tweeted out, hit me with them here. Benjamin says they got to run the football more often. Absolutely. I agree with this 100%. The way that teams are playing them, they should be able to just eat teams alive on the ground. They've got to do better there. Andy should know that. I don't know, they say a tiger doesn't change his stripes, but look, they've got a whole offseason to analyze what happened to them last year, the way that teams have played them, and they've got all this time to get in the lab and reload, and hopefully they're going to do just that. Let's see. Where did the narrative of Niang not being good come from? He was a solid injury He was solid before injury. It's the only injury that's blah. It's only the injury that is a concern at right tackle. That's from Nate S. Yeah, I want to talk about Niang for a second. So listen, last year was his first year starting. That's something that's really important to remember here. He looked a little shaky at times, right? If you're going up, I mean, if you're an opposing defensive coordinator and you're looking at that line and the way that they were playing early on, especially with Smith and Creed Humphrey, you got Joe Thuney and you got Orlando Brown over there. Who are you going to attack? Well, I'm going to attack the guy on the right side who it's his first year starting in the position. So the injury is a concern. Hopefully he can get back and stay healthy. The Chiefs have really liked him. I think they would be wise to continue to find more depth there. But what did they do? They went and they brought back Andrew Wiley, who I think, frankly, the way he played down the stretch for the Chiefs last year, I see no reason why he shouldn't be at least in the conversation, in the competition to start at right tackle. He did an excellent job. If you can upgrade, maybe you want to do that. But this is a very solid offensive line. Wiley got a lot of snaps with them. Niang provides some great depth or potentially as the starter, and then Wiley provides the depth. So I don't think you're in a panic if you're the Chiefs about your offensive line right now. Maybe you also look for some value late in the draft. They were rumored to have they interviewed at the combine. His name escapes me right now, but a gentleman who played tackle at Illinois all 4 years. So maybe that's a guy that they bring in as a depth piece for a swing tackle. Let's see what else we got here. Stacy, people forget Niang was essentially a rookie in 2021. That's absolutely right. He had not played. He was doing just fine with a lot of scrutiny there early in the season. And remember, the Chiefs weren't playing so great either early in the season. So take what you will from that, but everything's got to be working together. Who knows what Niang would have been playing like if he was healthy and in the playoffs. What cornerbacks do you like? I gotta do my study in Charlie on the cornerbacks. I don't have a good handle on the cornerback market right now. That's on me. But yeah, the Chiefs, that's priority. I think for me, it's edge and cornerback now, right? That's what they've got to be doing is shoring up those positions after some of the departures. Well, Rod says Niang is trash. I think that's a little harsh, man. I think that's a little harsh. Maurice Brown asked, what's up with Kyle Long? Not sure if Kyle Long is going to be back or not. Obviously, he was coming back after a layoff. Then he was injured all season, never really hit the field. Those are guys that, they're depth pieces you can bring in. If he still wants to play and he looks good, sure, the Chiefs could give him a look, but they could probably find a suitable replacement that's maybe younger and a little bit less of an injury risk to be a backup, interior lineman for them. Stacy says Wiley nails down the stretch. That $2.5 million extension is going to prove to be a big steal. I agree. He played really well. For the Chiefs. Do you remember thinking about Andrew Wiley a lot second half of the season? If the answer is no, that means he was doing his job. Benjamin says if JuJu has over 1,000 yards, that's a good first year. That's a damn good with if Kelsey and Hill play the whole season and JuJu has over 1,000 first yards, I'll be doing backflips. Are you kidding me? That would be absolutely fantastic. That you're still going to be getting targets for Hardman and some of these other guys. So yeah, give me 1,000 yards from JuJu all day. Let's see. So he says, oh, hell no. Wiley was our starter, but he was a pressure sieve against everyone but Max Crosby. He's barely getting through the snaps upright at all. I disagree with that. I thought he played very well. He held up. Was it pretty all the time? No, he wasn't. There were pressures that were given up, but I thought he did. I thought he did a really nice, admirable job stepping in there. And he was better, I think, than he was the year before when he had to do that. So he's continuing to improve. What does he look like next year? Again, this is not what happened last year is not necessarily an indication of what's going to happen this year. You generally have players trending in one direction if they're not too old. If they're older, they're usually trending in the other way. But next year, think about that offensive line. Is Creed Humphrey going to be worse in his second year? It's possible. Is it likely? Probably not. What about Smith? Is he going to be worse in his second year? Possible. Probably not likely. Orlando Brown Jr., second year in the system, comfortable with his offensive line mates. Same thing for Joe Thuney, who played, by the way, with a broken hand and had the club on there for a large part of the season, was absolutely tremendous. The offensive line should be, by all intents and purposes, much better than it was last year, and it was excellent last year. So that's good news. Again, this is the Arrowhead Addict podcast. My name is Patrick Allen. My co-hosts are all doing things that apparently they think are more important than updating you guys on the Chiefs. Got to give them a little rib there. We're brought to you by the Kansas City Beer Company at KC Beer Co. on Twitter. Give them a shout. And of course, if you want to join us for happy hour on Monday, look into being a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast. All the information you need is in the description. And of course, if you want some gear, we've got some really great Arrowhead Addict podcast gear that you can find. Link in the description as well. Let's see. Gary H says, question, will you have a podcast during the first round of the draft so we can all argue about who we should pick? You bet your ass we will. We will be live during, at least some of us will be live during the draft. Even maybe if the Chiefs trade out of the first round or something, we may still go live just in case they might trade back in, and we could talk about the landscape and how that is impacting everything. Mike in Sweden says, membership is well worth it. Appreciate you, Mike. I can't tell you, we have a blast in the Discord. We're not just talking Chiefs in there. There's a great Chiefs channel. If you're not familiar with Discord, I wasn't really before we started doing this. It's sort of a little similar to Slack in a way. It's a big chat room. You can do voice chats. We've got all kinds of different channels in there. There's a tavern. There's a movie channel, the AA Cinema. It's great to hop on there anytime you're bored, and like keeps me off bullshit like TikTok and stuff like that. I go in the Discord and talk about like my favorite movies with our friends here at the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. What do we got in the chat here? The NFC is going to fall apart. All the talent in the AFC, says Matt Mortimer. Yeah, isn't that crazy, y'all? I mean, my God, the AFC is just absolutely stacked. I mean, I can't remember a bigger power imbalance in my lifetime in the NFL. There were some years there where the NFC was really, really stacked with with the Cowboys and the 49ers and some of those teams. Washington was really good there for a stretch. But I mean, it's all got to take place on the field, right? But the players that the Chiefs and the other teams have, and particularly the AFC West, is absolutely crazy. Sean Wilson says, Patrick, I've always wondered if the bookshelf is really leaning. Yeah, they were built by the guy who used to own this house. So they're screwed in at the top, but they kind of come down. I guess it's over here. They come down like this. So it is kind of leaning. It's got a little bit of a curve to it. They're kind of cool. I'm probably going to move some of them around, but I got a damn leak that I'm dealing with right now, unfortunately. So before I can renovate the office in here, I got to fix that. And I can't find anybody to fix it. It's a big pain in the ass. If anybody's a roofer, I'll buy you beer. If you're in the Chicago area. Everybody's worried about us bringing back Sorensen, says Straight Savage, while we have his clone in Zay Anderson. Yeah, look, I don't think Sorensen's coming back. It's end of the line for Dirty Dan. He obviously lost a step last year. He is a liability. They had to hide him. But they do like to have those 3 safety looks. And so they've got Armani Watts. It's going to be interesting to see. Like, Verderam floated this, and I don't think this is going to happen, and I don't think he does either. But he was like, could Tyrann Mathieu come back to the Chiefs? I don't think that's going to happen now that they signed Justin Reed. It would just be too much money. Like, unless he came back on some insane deal, which he's not going to do. Now that the Chiefs have 10 million or so, whatever, committed to Reed, they're not going to be able to afford to bring back Tyrann Mathieu for like a luxury safety. To go. I mean, now if they had him and they had Thornhill and Reed and Matthew out there, that'd be absolutely incredible what they could do with that. But unless that's like somewhat their answer to the cornerback situation, I don't see it happening. Doesn't make sense. Some other team out there is going to give Tyrann Mathieu more money than the Chiefs are going to be able to stomach now that or maybe even just flat out be able to afford. And frankly, I think it would be a little bit of malpractice on the Chiefs' part, because we've said they need help at corner, they need help at edge. So they've got to get better there before they add a 3rd luxury safety. New York Chiefs fan says, gives great flexibility for draft and remainder of free agency. Edge, absolutely. Now that you've got JuJu locked up, look, they can still create more cap space. The Frank Clark restructure opened up a little bit of space for the Chiefs. They're still snug up against the cap, especially now with this JuJu deal. But there's the Mahomes thing that they can do. So they can convert some of Mahomes' base salary into bonuses. That spreads it across the remaining years of his contract. And then there's the Tyreek Hill restructure, which I think is close. There's been reports that it's close. It hasn't been ready yet, but as soon as they do that, that's going to open up space for the Chiefs as well. And then, of course, there's the draft. Cole says Juju's a shell of his former self, not a stud anymore. Questionable move. Chiefs fan since 92. Welcome, Cole. You've been through it, man. That was a good time to get in on the Chiefs there in the 90s. And congrats for sticking it out during the aughts there, where things in general were not so good. Look, yeah, I disagree that Juju's a shell of himself. I mean, he hasn't played great, but also, again, he can't throw himself the football. So the offense in Pittsburgh went through a major transition. Remember, last year, they were handing the ball off to Najee Harris, who's a very talented rookie running back, a million times. So what does that say when your offensive philosophy is we got to give the ball to our rookie running back as much as we possibly can? And they've got talented wide receivers in Pittsburgh, JuJu among them. Well, he was among them. I think that tells you what you needed to know about what they thought about Ben Roethlisberger's ability to get the ball to the receivers. And you guys saw him twice last year. He was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. So I think JuJu is going to have a revival of a season. If he doesn't, it's a swing and a miss on the part of the Chiefs. But they needed more depth at wide receiver. They needed somebody who could compete for the wide receiver 2 position. And it's a 1-year contract. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And they're out of it after this year. So not a lot of long-term pain. And if it does work out, well, then they'll have some decisions to make at the wide receiver position as they start to move money around. Dan Man says, how was JuJu supposed to thrive with Big Ben? Yeah, Ben was terrible. He was absolutely terrible. Somebody was asking, why haven't the Chiefs pulled the trigger on the Mahomes restructure yet? I think that's a good question. I think if I had to guess, Veach just felt like he didn't need to do it yet. He knows he can do it. He probably has it worked out with Pat and his agent, because every time they do that, that's just those those salary bonuses. Those are guaranteed. So when they convert, now if they were to cut, your base salary is not guaranteed if you get cut. So guaranteed money is all that matters in these contracts. And whenever they convert that, they would never cut Mahomes. But that's why players are always happy when they're always usually happy to do that conversion to signing bonuses or to roster bonuses, whatever you want to call them, because that guarantees the money. And what you need a rich owner to do those types of things. And Clark Hunt is very rich because when they do that, the owner has to put that money in escrow, because even though that spreads it out, so he won't get it, it spreads it out across the remaining life of the contract. It's guaranteed. So, for it to be legal and all that, and with the salary cap rules, Clark Hunt's got to put that money in escrow. So that's a lot of money to put in escrow. So that's a great situation for the Chiefs. Why haven't they done it yet to just open up that cap space? I think maybe Brett Veach is I said this yesterday on the podcast, maybe he has a lever to pull. And he's like, well, I've pulled the Frank Clark restructure lever. So now I know how much money I have. And I know I want to target JuJu Smith-Schuster or Jarvis Landry. And I have an idea how much I'm willing to pay for those guys. So I've got the space, and, they're on the market, and those are priorities for me, and I'm going after them. And once I'm able to make that move, I've got that lever, the Frank Clark lever pulled. Now, maybe they're looking at Zadarius Smith, and they're like, we like this Zadarius Smith. We're going to try to lure him to Kansas City. We know he's going to cost a lot of money. We need the Mahomes restructure to get the money for that. So if that becomes a possibility for them, they'll pull the Mahomes lever, sign Zadarius, and they're good. Or maybe they've got to do the Mahomes restructure and the Tyreek Hill thing. But, if they've got it all worked out with Mahomes' agent and Mahomes and everyone knows it's fine and they can do it, there's no reason to pull the lever early unless you think it's keeping you from getting somebody. But if somebody's going to agree to sign with you and you need to open up the cap space after that, you can pull the lever and do it. So maybe that's just kind of the way Mike in Sweden says it's only 5 years forward. Yes, that's correct. I've been misspeaking. Mahomes has that long contract. It is only 5 years forward, but he has such a long contract that each year they buy another year, right? So they can keep kicking that money down the line each year because it goes as it goes on 5 years into the future. So that's the explanation for that. But yes, thank you for the correction on that. They're not spreading it out across all 10 years. It's over the next 5 years. But then there's the base salary for next year that they can kick the can down the line. And then, of course, remember, the salary cap is projected to go up drastically when the new TV money comes in over the life of the Mahomes contract. So that was another calculation that the Chiefs made when they signed him. They're like, hey, we know the salary cap's going to go up. Let's lock this guy in now. Let's lock him in for a long time. And then, boom, it doesn't look like such a big cap hit further on down the line. Against the Arrowhead Addict podcast, my name is Patrick Allen. We're talking JuJu Smith-Schuster to the Kansas City Chiefs. Just as we're kind of wrapping things up here, we'll have more later in the week. If you've got any last questions, get them in now because my throat's starting to get dry from talking solo for 56 minutes. You don't need Patrick's input or anything to convert. Patrick has no say in it, Nate says. I think Patrick Mahomes has a say in everything. If you're going to be doing these types of things, it does impact him, right? So I'm not doing anything if I'm Brett Veach without talking to Patrick Mahomes. Luke says drink a beer then. I'd love to keep it going, but got some other work to do as well. Can we make a trade to the 49ers for Bosa? No, we can't. Not going to be able to afford Bosa. That would be great, though. That'd be incredible. Watched him play in college. I'm from Ohio. That would be great. Is getting Myles Garrett a possibility if we go all in for a trade? Again, Red, where's the money going to come from? I don't have his cap numbers in front of me, but I mean, he's one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL. I don't know where the Chiefs are going to get one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL. They're going to have to do it by drafting the person. It's just going to be really hard. They're trying to open up. They had to open up space so they could sign JuJu Smith-Schuster to a $10 million contract, getting some of these guys, the premiums that you have to pay for them. I really think they're going to go hard in the draft. Like I said, there's a lot of pass rushers in this draft. And the Red says we can make everyone restructure and pull some magic stuff out. Look, yeah, I mean, that's a dream, right? But it's probably a dream. Clint McKenzie's got to go. Thanks, Patrick. The glasses look good on you, by the way. Go Chiefs. I appreciate that, Clint. I appreciate that a lot more than the why do you look 10 years older on this stream than you do on your profile picture on Twitter. Look, that picture was taken in 2020, October of 2020, during the pandemic. So, he said I look older in that pic? Oh, so I misunderstood. Oh, okay. I look younger. Well, all right. Well, I take back everything I said. I did look kind of distinguished in that picture. Actually, I had just gotten out of the hospital. I had some kind of weird, they think it was a blood infection. So I had lost some weight, which necessarily wasn't a bad, but I was in the hospital for a number of days. It was a pretty stressful situation, pretty scary situation too, by the way, because they didn't know what it was. And they were running all these cancer tests and all the other scary stuff on me, sonograms of my heart. And my wife and I got out and we went apple picking. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I was scared into looking a few years older in that, or maybe it's just the hoodie. I don't know. But yeah, you guys can always feel free to talk about how much younger I'm looking. I'm 38, by the way. Christian says, Boye Mafe on my radar. Yeah, Christian. So Verderam and I covered the Super Bowl this year, and we went out to Thousand Oaks, to the former Mamba Academy out there, and we actually watched Mafe, Aiden Hutchinson, and some of those other guys that were working out there, top prospects, work out. And he is, first of all, a really nice guy. I got to meet him, shake his hand. Verderam, talked to him for a little bit. Really nice guy, and just an absolute monster. Absolute monster. We were watching these guys do, they were doing planks with like 135 pounds of weight on their back. Well, I tell you what, when you go watch those world-class athletes, work out. I mean, I'm just a shade under 6'1", about 200 pounds. And you go like, I don't usually feel small. I mean, I'm standing there next to the cornerbacks and I'm like, Jesus, man, those guys are enormous. They're in incredible shape. If you ever need motivation to get out there and work out, go watch some professional athletes in the gym. It'll light a fire under your ass. I promise you that. Thank you for the super chat, Brandon. Thoughts on Jordan Davis from Georgia or Wyatt? Brandon, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not familiar with either of those two players. Still doing my draft prep here. So got to dive in, but we'll get an answer for that. Come back You don't have to super chat us again, but come back and let us know. Remind us of that question. We'll be back, Verderam and I, on Thursday. We'll look up those guys and get an opinion for you. Jamie Boy says, I would love Mafe. Yeah, I mean, just like I said, absolute monster. New York Chiefs fan. JuJu, Forza, and Tyreek, and Trav, that's strong. I agree, man. That's looking good. Mighty Sphinx has got some info for us. So apparently JuJu's contract comes down to $3 million in base value. The rest incentives. Sphinx or anybody out there, can you let me know who tweeted that? Where'd that info come from? So we can verify it for anybody that might be listening. Look, man, that's fantastic if that's the case. If it's the $3 million base with the $10 million incentives, look, I mean, you got to have the money for the incentives, but that's great. If he doesn't perform, it saves you a little bit of money. Mike Garfalo. Okay, so then that's appreciate the info, Sphinx. That's fantastic. Let him go out there. You want to incentivize him. He, as some of you have pointed out, he's had a couple of rough seasons. Whether you want to put that all on him, you want to put some of it on Roethlisberger, maybe a mix of both. You're incentivizing him to come out and perform, and that's a lot of upsize, man. $3 million to get up to 10 by playing well. That's a hell of a lot of incentive for JuJu to go out there and rock it. And again, as if he didn't have, remember, he's not just playing for those incentives on this 1-year deal, going to be 26 at the end of the season. He's got potentially millions and millions and millions of dollars on the line in long-term security. If he could come out there and ball out for the Chiefs this year, whether it's the Chiefs who pay him or another team once he hits the free agent market, he has all the incentive in the world to go out there. And also, it's not bad to get $3 million for your troubles either, guaranteed. Let's see. Sphinx says, if we could just run the damn ball, now the offense is golden. That's what it comes down to, right? We actually have a great run the damn ball or run the ball special emoji in the Arrowhead Addict members only Discord, along with some other things. All right, before we get out of here, one of the things that we like to do on the Arrowhead Addict podcast, when Verderam's on, we talk about beer, we like to talk about food, and our big thing is breakfast cereal. So if you're interested in this sort of thing, if you're not, appreciate you checking out the stream. But for our hardcore folks out there, wanted just to throw a little bowl at you for some cereal chat. Big breakfast cereal, terrible for you, but so delicious. What's everybody's favorite breakfast cereal? And I'm giving you permission to exclude the GOAT of breakfast cereals and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, because we all know Cinnamon Toast Crunch is the greatest breakfast cereal of all time. It's absolutely incredible. So yes, Evan's one of our members. Cereal chat in the Discord is great too. We talk about those things. We do reviews if somebody finds some new crazy breakfast cereal out there. J Ward, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, obviously. Aside from Cinnamon Toast Crunch, what's your favorite? We've done some rankings and some lists on here before. CT Crunch is clearly the GOAT. I'm a huge peanut butter crunch guy. I love that. Evan with the Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops is underrated. I really like Fruit Loops. My dad, when I was growing up, would always buy like the cheap, like off-brand Fruit Loops, and it always tasted like Pine Sol to me. Not that I ever drank Pine Sol, but what I imagine Pine Sol would taste like. Never liked it. Captain Crunch, Mike in Sweden, absolutely great. Gary says Honey Nut Cheerios. That good underrated one, man. Honey Nut Cheerios is absolutely solid. J Ward, Cocoa Pebbles or Captain Crunch. Man, I love Cocoa Pebbles. I love all the pebbles because I have some weird thing. I really love the texture of it when I'm eating it. It stays kind of crunchy. But I'm a Fruity Pebbles guy. Love a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. And it's like, I always fill up my bowl. I eat way too much. I can eat a box of Fruity Pebbles in about 2 bowls. Cocoa Pebbles, also great. Tony the Tiger. Yeah, man. My dad would never get me. He would never get me Frosted Flakes when I was a kid. My mom didn't want me to have all the sugar, but I would just, jokes on them, I would just dump a pound of sugar on it from under the cabinet there and make my own Frosted Flake. Lucky Charms, I got to say, really high up on my list, Lucky Charms. I bought some back when we had our office open, and I was eating it every day. I had a real hard time passing up on it. So damn good. Love the marshmallows in the Lucky Charms cereal. Remember Alphabets? Do they still make that? Didn't they come out with like Alphabets with marshmallows too? It was like into Lucky Charms. Oregon Fish, it says bacon. Absolutely. Fruity Pebbles with marshmallows. Oh, now you're speaking my language, Dan. I mean, you start getting the Fruity Pebbles with the marshmallows. Y'all smoking dope. Cookie Crisp is the best. Will Stanton, man, Cookie Crisp is just like the most obscene cereal, isn't it? Just little cookies in a bowl. Here's your breakfast. Yeah, absolutely. That's the stuff you got to buy when you're an adult. Once you have your own freedom to purchase the things that you want. Bush Beer and Cheerios, hilarious, Jim. Peanut Butter Captain Crunch, can eat it like popcorn. Did I ever tell you guys a story? I think I've mentioned it on the podcast. I used to sleepwalk, not so much anymore. I do have the night terrors every once in a while, which my wife really appreciates. Once I got up, my dad worked midnights for years. He's a truck driver, actually about to retire. Here's his last year of work. Shout out to Bob Allen. So one night I got up and I was sleepwalking and I went downstairs and I poured a bowl of peanut butter crunch and it was the last of the box. And I went back upstairs and I ate it in bed and put the bowl down and went to sleep. Next morning I get up, I go downstairs and I threw a holy fit because the peanut butter crunch was gone. And I thought my dad ate it before he went to work and I was yelling at my mom and stuff about it being a little brat. I go upstairs, I see the bowl and then I had this memory got triggered of like being really tired and sitting in my bed, just like wanting to finish the cereal so I could go back to sleep, but like not knowing what was going on. Absolutely hilarious story. I'll go one step further here. Once I got up, we had some ants in the house and we were treating the upstairs and I was sleeping on the downstairs floor and I was sleepwalking. Anybody ever do anything crazy like this? I walked the same route I would have to the bathroom, through my dining room, into the pantry, and I pissed in the vent on the floor. Woke up at the end of it. Yeah, not proud of that. Not my proud moment. But I don't know if any of you suffer from sleepwalking. Sometimes you do some wacky stuff when you don't know what's going on. Count Chocula says, Smitty, of course, and Frankenberry. I've got some Frankenberry still in my cabinet from October. Have you ever looked at the calories on that shit? Jesus. I mean, it's absolutely terrible for you. So I'm rationing it. Of course, Count Chocula should be made a year-round cereal. It's my second favorite cereal with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. God, it's just so good. The marshmallow with the chocolate. You always get the chocolate milk at the end. Boy, this went on longer than I thought, but you guys are into it. So Honey Bunches of Oats is good too, says Gary. That's a good one with like the clusters, right? Kind of sweet clusters. I haven't had Honey Bunches of Oats in a long ass time. You know what? Another underrated cereal I think is Life. I don't know if you guys like Life cereal, but like the Cinnamon Life, especially, absolutely fantastic. Waffle cereal. From David. Yeah. The waffle cereals are really good, or wherever they get that, like the syrupy flavor in the cereal. Honey Bunches of Oats is incredible, says Jay Ward. Again, I have to get some Honey Bunches of Oats. Does anybody out here, I got a question for you guys. Does anybody out there like grape nuts? I had grape nuts once. That's what my grandma had in her cabinet. It's like gravel. It's like a bowl of gravel. Cuts the roof of your mouth. Absolutely terrible. It's like an old person cereal. Anybody out there like grape nuts? Or has anybody even had grape nuts? Honeycomb. Honeycomb's good. Stacy says grape nuts, you might as well eat the box. Agreed. Life for the win, says David. Wheaties better. Wheaties are okay. I can get in a Wheaties move every once in a while. Raisin Bran Crunch. I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of Raisin Bran. I like raisins fine. I don't really want them in my cereal. They don't float. They're not really good. It's just, I'm not a Raisin Bran guy. No. I'm not for it. Oh, Jamie Boy says Raisin Bran's so good. Mike in Sweden. My name is Mike. He likes it. Hey, Mikey, if you're not familiar with that famous old school commercial for Life. Gwen says, love you guys. Just can't understand how such smart people can eat chocolate cereal. Shaking my head. Gwen! Dude, wait, are you against chocolate, like, period? Or do you not like the way that, like, the flavoring in chocolate cereal tastes? I need more information on this because I am all for chocolate cereal. Not sure that I've ever encountered a chocolate cereal I didn't like. Grape nut ice cream is delicious, Katie Hawk. That's a thing? Holy shit. I don't know. I'm going to say I'm going to look into that. I'm probably not going to look into that. If you want something that floats in milk, then you need Rice Krispies. But Rice Krispies get so soggy. Like, I feel like their whole gimmick was the snap, crackle, pop thing, which of course they did. But then you're just eating like the soggy mush. Now, didn't they make Rice Krispie treat cereal? I believe they did. And what I want to ask you guys is the Rice Krispie Treat cereal more obscene from like a calorie and just like terrible for you perspective than Cookie Crisp? Which one is worse in that situation? I'm probably still leaning Cookie Crisp, but I don't know, man. Kind cereal, I don't think I've ever had that. Apple Jacks and with the cinnamon touch. Apple Jacks is a good cereal. I like the texture that you get from that as well. My producer Richard is probably going to kill me because we're doing like 10 minutes of cereal talk, but there's still like 192 of you watching. All right. Somebody says, Dan just says no. I don't know what that's in response to. Keep going, says Richard. I'll clear this one out. Anybody ever have King Vitamin? I talk about him on this podcast all the time because it's been around since like the 70s. My dad used to buy King Vitamin is like off-brand Captain Crunch. Okay, we're down to 156 now. So people that came for Chiefs Talk are tuning out. King Vitamin looked like somebody maybe you wouldn't want to leave your kids alone with on the front of the box. This is older actor. Check out, do yourself a favor. Look up the King Vitamin commercials. They're just as creepy as the creepy old man on the box looks like. There's one where he's riding a horse around and he's got with these really little kids. It's just weird. Stacy says, man, everybody had King Vitamin when I was a kid. And I always politely abstained. Oh, there it is. There's King. Like, look at that. Richard put it up for us. Look at that. Look at his eyebrows, first of all. Okay, we're going to break this down. Are you able to move it to the side, Richard? So I can do like, if you can, it's fine. But I'd rather you leave it up if you can't move it to the side. The man's eyebrows, you can't. You can put it back up. Put it back up. It's fine. I can move to the side. Hold on. Let me do that. Okay. All right. Look at this guy. So maybe it's easier if I go over here. So first you got the creepy like old man eyebrow thing, which I didn't realize this. And for all of you you should have nightmares, Jamie. For all of you who are not like in your 30s or younger, if you're in your 20s, I didn't know this. Up until I was about 31, 32, my eyebrows were just like my eyebrows. I didn't do anything to them. Then once you get to be about 32, 33, it might be different for everybody. Your eyebrows just start growing like your hair. Mine just started growing straight out of my head. And this is what can happen. King Vitamin here is what can happen if you don't groom yourself. Look in the mirror, your ears too. And I'm sure he's got tons of hair coming out of his ears. He looks like an absolute creep. And like, what's he have on his head? He's got the crown's made of spoons. I never noticed that before. There's a few different versions of the box too that you can find, Richard, with the live actor on it. Eventually, they went to like an animated one. Standing ovation. Yeah, they animated King Vitamin. But like, what an absolute creep. And he's even worse in the commercials. As he got older, he was like a little less manic than he looks in that picture. Like he's like from the side and he looks like slightly more regal. You got to change with the times. But yeah, no. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is the King Vitamin that I grew up with. Still creepy looking. He still has, I can't believe this is the first time of all the King Vitamin stuff that I looked at. Please put it away. I'm scared. He looks like the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. He does a little bit. You're right. Boy, that was a great performance as an actor myself. But like, I can't believe this is the first time that I noticed that King Vitamin has spoons for the tip of his crown. But what does he have in the middle? Is that like some sort of weird checkered hairnet or something? Why? Like, was he bald? Why doesn't he have? What is that? Is it a napkin up there? Is it an upside down bowl? Can anybody make heads or tails? That is a Peloton in the back, Jay Ward. If you're interested, if you've got one, if anybody wants to ride with me, Patty F13 on Peloton. Is that Bob Euchre? It's Jello, says Jay Ward. Yeah, King Vitamin, super creepy guy. I posted the commercials in our Discord. All right, everybody. I got to get a drink of water. I got to get out of here. This has been a hell of a lot of fun, though. I can't believe there's still like 150 of you watching. This is an example of like what we like to do. Tablecloth, I agree. This is an example of like what we do in the Discord and with bonus episodes that we produce for members and things like that. So if you're interested, check it out. It's a lot of fun. We like to get to know you guys and hang out with you. And listen, cross your fingers, but we're working on crunch berries. Absolutely. We're working on something. We're hoping that we're going to be able to come to Kansas City at some point for a live show. We'd love to see you all out there if we do. So check out the description for memberships, for all the information. Subscribe, follow us on YouTube. And if you want to help us out too, you can head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review over there, a written review with questions, Chiefs questions, serial questions, rankings, whatever segment ideas. You can leave them in your Apple review. We really appreciate it. We read all the reviews on the podcast. Jamie Boy, look out, Patrick. Arrowhead cereal. Oh, now that would be dope. That Jay Ward agrees. That would be dope. Let's get some Arrowhead Addict cereal. We're going to get you some sort of Arrowhead Addict cereal design, and we're going to put it in the store, in the Arrowhead Addict store, which you can also find in the description if you want to get some. We've got a dope ass Adidas golf hat in there. We've got some polos in there, and there's like a really great Champion Arrowhead Addict podcast hoodie, which we'll be modeling for you guys soon. Can you come to Sweden, Mike? I don't know if we're going to get to Sweden. Actually, Sweden, Mike, my wife and I are actually trying to plan a vacation and Sweden is on our list. We were thinking about maybe the fall, but we got all these stupid repairs with the roof and stuff. We may not be able to go, unfortunately. And I know she's really bummed out, but you got to take care of your house, right? You can't have water coming in on your head. By the way, there's a guy behind you with a spoon crown. That's my nightmare fuel tonight. I'm a big horror movie fan. So Cole just subbed to the channel. All right, Cole, welcome, brother. Happy to see you around. All right, guys, I gotta go. We're at the 1 hour and 16 mark. You have been awesome. It's not easy to get through a podcast this long solo, and I couldn't have done it without you guys and your activity in the chat. Appreciate you. We will be back. And if the Chiefs make more moves, we'll be back. I'm home all weekend. I'll jump on here. If they don't make any more moves, Tuesday, Sterling and Matt Connor will be live at 5 here on YouTube and everywhere else. And Verderam and I will be back on Thursday, unless the Chiefs make a move. Appreciate you guys. Thank you as well. Mike says come in the summertime only. It's nice. We wanted to see, we'll talk later, Mike. I'll talk to you in the Discord. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next week or maybe earlier. But until then, welcome, JuJu Smith-Schuster. And as always, go Chiefs.